Shemai, welcome back. Glad to be here. Another year. First video 2025. I can't wait for another year full of fun. Full of fun. I can't even speak anymore. But never mind that, because you know what is fun? Big Finish. And specifically, the 8th Doctor.
Yes, this is... we're carrying on our series of going through the Big Finish Doctor Who 8th Doctor stuff. Because I haven't listened to it all before. So,
and I've listened to it 1,000 times.
Yeah, so it's good. It's good. I have been enjoying it, to be honest. It's nice to be back to doing this, because I have missed it, to be fair.
Yeah, it's the point we might be able to get one more in now before the show is back proper come the spring. So we're just going to dive straight into it. The first one we're talking about is Terra Firma. Now, Terra Firma is, I think, quite underrated in all honesty, because it is one of the best 8th Doctor monthly range plays out there. It's Joe Ledster, who's one of the greatest Doctor Who writers in the expanded universe. I don't know how he's never been able to write for the TV show. It blows my mind, to be honest with you. This picks up exactly where we left off in The Next Life with the Doctor, Keras and Charlie finally getting back into the normal universe, away from the Divergent universe, and straight into a spaceship, or a base. It's a base, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Into a big underground base full of Daleks and Davros.
Yeah, this was a nice twist, especially at the end of The Next Life. Like, I just did not see this coming. And then to have the first episode of the next series be a Dalek episode was fun for me. I did enjoy it. And Davros is brilliant in this, because he's sort of between two minds, between himself and the Emperor.
Yeah, I loved all of that.
Yeah.
Such a cool
so
thing.
Good.
That, you know, because we see him as the Emperor in remembrance of the Daleks and whatever, but he's still very much Davros. It's just Davros big. But like now that the Emperor conditioning is kind of like taking over a bit more, and I think Terry Malloy is brilliant. Hot take, I actually think Terry Malloy is the best Davros. I know everyone's going to say Michael Wisher and everything, and Michael Wisher is very good, don't get me wrong, but I think it's probably an unfair comparison, because Malloy gets more stories to put more of his like performance across, you know, and he's done loads of Big Finish as well. So he's had more of an opportunity to build that, but I just think he brings something a bit more sinister to it, I think, because Malloy, Michael Wisher in Genesis of the Daleks is great as that crazy power mad sort of scientist, you know, but there's more to Davros than that, and I think Terry Malloy manages to get that out. And like you said, the sort of split personality thing he's got great chemistry with McGann as well, like Terry Malloy, which is something that Terry Malloy always seemed to have with the Doctors of the classic series. There was always good chemistry. Davros does, I think, one of the nastiest, like, I mean, he's done awful things, don't get me wrong, he's committed many crimes and killed many people, but he does one of the most like spiteful, evil things to an individual in this, which we'll get onto in a little bit, because I'm wary. There are going to be spoilers throughout this, so you haven't listened to this one, go and listen to it first, because there are some insane reveals in this that we're going to have to talk about because they're brilliant, but we don't want to get spoiled, so just go and listen to them first and then come back.
Yeah, you've kind of been warned at this point now. Yeah.
You come back now? You gone or are you still there? Right. Davros, basically, as part of this, the TARDIS team encountered this sort of human resistance, this small group of people who are living, like, plot twist, this is Earth, the Daleks have invaded and conquered, and they're in, is it Folkestone, yeah. So it's like is that a real place? That's not a real place.
It is a real place.
Oh, it's a real place. Yeah. So it's just a tiny little village, basically, where they're all just like, yeah, well, we're just gonna get pissed because we've been taken over by the Daleks, and
what else can we do?
Yeah.
Sing nursery rhymes.
Yeah, the Hokey Cookies never sounded so sinister. It's just everyone getting absolutely hammered, you know, and just like as if it's some kind of birthday do or something, but it's actually like the occupation of Earth.
Yeah,
it's just really fun. It's a very dark idea, very cool idea. And two of these characters that we meet as part of the sort of resistance and pissheads are Samson and Gemma. Now, Samson and Gemma at first seem your sort of standard guest characters, you know, pretty much stuff. There's a huge twist by them, which is built up to brilliantly in the cold opens for each episode. Do you want to tell the people what the huge twist is with Samson and Gemma?
Samson and Gemma were companions of the Doctor at one point, and the bigger twist is Samson was kind of brainwashed by Davros at one point to spy on the Doctor in the TARDIS, so he had almost had control over everything. Like, it was brilliant. I did not see that coming, and then seeing them interacting with Charlie as well through this, and remembering their time in the TARDIS, and the Doctor remembering them as well. Like it was just really nice, to be honest.
It's a really cool, clever twist. You know, it wouldn't really work. You could never really do that on TV. I don't think it works. And for when you've got a Doctor where you're starting like with the Eighth Doctor, who's starting quite sort of maybe like, I don't know, not so much, less than a quarter, but still not right at the start of his way into his run with these Big Finish stuff. There's a few different things that take place earlier on in his life. And one of those chunks is the Samson and Gemma era, which we never see, we never hear of, we have nothing, because the Doctor has his memories erased of them. They have their memories erased of him. And like you said, Davros is just using Samson as a spy and brainwashing him to just spy on the Doctor, so that Davros's influence on the Doctor has been there for a while. And it's horrible, because I love the flashback scenes you get with Samson and Gemma and the TARDIS, because they're brother and sister as well, by the way. Forgot to mention that bit. So that's a fun little dynamic that you don't often get with companions. You know, it's usually your potential love interest, or your love interest, or more father son or whatever dynamic. You don't often get the siblingy kind of thing, which is fun. But the just the way that they get on with the Eighth Doctor, it almost makes it worse, because you think, oh my god, these guys sound really fun together. They sound like they're having a really nice time, and then you realise that it's like Samson's been psychologically tortured. Keres gets a little bit more of sort of hints towards the fact that he might not be quite normal.
Yeah, I'd say the stuff at the end of the episode where he's just alone with the voices, as well as him brutally assaulting a Dalek to death.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was one of Keres' best moments, where you think Ace has got it cool with the baseball bat. Keres just basically kills a Dalek with his bare hands.
Yeah. But then when you hear those voices, spoiler again, you do hear the Dalek voice as well. Yeah. So it's obvious like that's playing on his mind, that he still killed a creature.
Yeah, but that's quite interesting though, isn't it? Because with Keres not just never met the Daleks before, but not even being from this universe, he's got no concept of Daleks. So there is another life form to him that he's killed, along with like Lyda and other people from here and there that he starts to hear, and he basically goes, "Yeah, I know I've killed you, but I've saved you, and I'm gonna save the Doctor and Charlie soon." And now you think, uh-oh, they've basically got a deranged killer on board the TARDIS again, and they don't know about it. What could possibly go wrong?
It's just I'm kind of now just waiting to see this saving attempt, because that would be interesting.
Oh yeah, don't worry. This is just a hint at the minute. This isn't just something that will come to fruition. I'm not going to spoil how, but it will.
They do like to slate the French in this as well. I have noticed
there's a lot of
French bashing.
It's a lot of very sort of typical British, like, oh yes, we don't bloody like the French, do we? Oh, we've been invaded by Daleks. Pour another brandy.
They were the first ones to be invaded. Shock horror. Like. It was like they surrendered immediately. Yeah, no surprise there, and it's just like it's funny. It made me laugh. It did make me laugh.
There are moments of like levity throughout this, which I think you need, because the rest of the story is so like dark and like properly, it could feel quite draining. I think you need the moments of fun, but even those moments of fun are sort of wrapped up in so these people are all sat around the going, oh yeah, of course they surrendered to the Daleks. Oh god, I can't believe it. Can you believe that? And it's like they're all joking around, but they have been enslaved.
The French resistance has even been taken over by Daleks in an effort, because Davros's stories tend to be, and it's very much rinse repeat, but it's a formula that works, and I enjoy it every single time. I'll never get bored of it. It's Davros creates Daleks out of his own cells, or just his creator. Daleks are overdeveloped by Davros, and then think for themselves and think, oh, maybe we don't need him, and try to kill him. Every single time.
There is a lot of that in Classic Who, where it's sort of his Daleks, or either his Daleks he's created or ones that he's in power over, sort of go, actually, maybe this guy's not...
Even with New Who, Journey's End. Yeah. Right? And it's obvious in The Witcher's Familiar and that two-parter, Magician's Apprentice as well. Oh. That shaky one.
Shaky?
Yeah. But it's obvious that they just got him there as a prisoner, really.
Yeah.
Instead of anything. So they've obviously taken control of themselves a bit more. There's letting him feel he's got control.
Yeah. I think Davros is one of the most fascinating villains that Doctor Who's done, but it's like everything that you can do with Davros has now been done either through TVs or audios. Yeah. Like there's nothing more that you could do with Davros now.
They made him walk.
What?
They made Davros walk again.
Oh yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's something different. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that wasn't. I'm talking like in terms of the character motivations
Yeah.
and things. Yeah, there's not much more you could really do with Davros on the TV series. There's a lot of stuff through Big Finish, which there's a great one where he's forced to work with the Sixth Doctor to sort of help both of them, and it's that idea of these two who are, mortal enemies. I said really, but I mean, it's either the Master or Davros for the Doctor. Let's be honest. And they're having to, while sparring against each other, also having to work together. That's really fun. There's some great Davros stuff in Big Finish, and it basically does everything that you would expect the TV series to do with Davros now. And I think Davros is definitely a victim of diminishing returns. And I don't want Davros to come back unless they can do something like that they've done in the expanded media with him, and do something a bit more weird, build him up a bit.
Have they done a bit with him in the Time War?
Yes.
Big Finish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen Time War Davros. So it's all there, and it's good. It's good stuff. That's all I'll say. Go and check out. Basically, I can't think of any bad Davros audio. There's even one where he swaps bodies with the Doctor and everything. That's brilliant. But yeah, go check them all out. And there's even a prequel series called I, Davros, which is basically the story of Davros before Genesis of the Daleks, sort of like him growing up, his accident, everything like that. That's really good. And that's the one thing on Spotify. So yeah, go have a look.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Called I, Davros. It's really, really good. Moving on then. Have you got anything more to say on Terra Firma?
That it was absolutely bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. It's definitely up there with one of my favourites now.
It's by far and away one of mine. It's probably one of my top 5 of the month of the Charlie and Kerry's stuff, Charlie and Kerry's stuff. Easily, I think it's brilliant. I really can't recommend it enough. One that is next one is called Scaredy Cat, and it's one of the shortest Big Finishes ever, and it's one that is quite often. It's there's no beating around the bush. It's regarded as one of the worst Big Finishes monthly range series, to be fair, across any of the Doctors. What did you think of Scaredy Cat?
I mean, there was parts to it I enjoyed. I mean, you get a bit more development from Keris going through it, and he's trying to save people, not in the sense that we get at the end of Terra Firma, but genuinely look after these people who are about to get wiped out by a virus. And I like that it seems like they just like brainwash people to make them like just better than apes sort of thing.
Right, yeah, they sort of
mess with their heads.
Yeah, I don't think Scaredy Cat is as bad as people make out.
I didn't think it was bad at all. I enjoyed it. There were definitely bits I thought were held up better than others in it, but the stuff with Flood I enjoyed.
Yeah, Flood is a very OTT kind of villain. He's a bit like he comes across like a bit like a Greg Wallace in space, but like he's got some interesting motivations in terms of like, what makes people evil, and like sort of grieving the death of his son. And it's a cool setup anyway, with the idea of these twin planets where one of them is completely like, they called it like a virgin world or something, where like there hasn't been anyone settled on it. It's all completely as it is. There's no interference from any outside planet. And the Doctor and Charlie and Kerry's go and investigate it. There's a really nice TARDIS scene at the start where they're in the TARDIS gardens, and it's just a really nice scene between the three of them. And Kerry's says something really nice about how like his people see beauty in the context of it rather than something just being beautiful. It's like it's what that means to people or a certain person. That was really cool. I like that. I was a fan of that. And there's this girl, a weird ghost girl, which doesn't actually sound anything like a girl. It sounds like any other adult trying to do an impression of a child. But Scaredy Cat. Yeah, got a little bit grating, I can't lie. A little bit grating. There's a bit of animal cruelty in this.
A smidge.
Which isn't my cup of tea. But it gives McGann some good meaty stuff to get his teeth round and really sort of lay into these oppressive scientists and whatever. And I like the fact that Charlie's the one that gets separated on her own, and the Doctor and Kerry's get paired up for a bit, because quite often you see it's the Doctor and Charlie, and Kerry's is off doing his own little side plots and stuff. So it's quite nice to switch that up a bit and give McGann and Conrad Westmaster some scenes together, because I think the two characters themselves, I think they match. There's sort of like a very student-y, student professor vibe between them. Whereas the Doctor and Charlie's, they've got that, but there's obviously that added complication of the sort of unrequited feelings from both of them. They both obviously fancy each other, but they both go, no, we'll just be friends. That adds a bit more complex to it, whereas this is just a very it's a very bread and butter companion relationship, but it works, if that makes sense. Yeah, the race memory aspect of stuff is fun as well.
The way they described it, the way the one they used was the blue tit or something, learning to open up a bottle of milk and drinking from it, and then they found a blue tit 100 odd miles away doing exactly the same thing, but they don't migrate more than like 15 miles or so. It was completely so far out the way that it couldn't have been possible that the one showed the other. And so it's obviously that adaptation has just gone through the entire species really, and they've all sort of learnt it as a fault, which is a cool concept.
I think it is a genuine. I don't know if it's necessarily been confirmed or anything, but it is a theory that has been sort of backed by in this. It's not just in Doctor Who; it's a real world theory, and it's a kind of thing that you would think would be ripe for a Doctor Who story. But go, what if this was true? What if there were species that could learn new skills individually and then pass that round to everyone by some sort of hive mind kind of vibe? I like the mystery of this ghostly apparition, the voice. The Doctor and Keris go back in time to work it out, and it's to do with there's a virus, and the Doctor can save them, but he can't because obviously that would be changing time and whatever. But the Doctor doesn't explain this rationale to Keris because we know it's to do with the web of time and everything, but Keris wouldn't have a clue around why you need to protect the web of time because he comes from a universe without time. And I like that we're still keeping that idea, even though we're not in the Divergent universe anymore. He's going, it just wouldn't make any sense to try and explain why we can't, because Kerry's going, well, hang on, no, these people are all going to die and you've got a time machine, you can travel around or whatever, you can save these people now, so why aren't we saving them? And the Doctor sort of just shrugs it off a bit, and you could sort of go, well, obviously he's not going to tell Kerry's about the web of time and everything because it wouldn't make sense. It'd be like trying to explain astrophysics to a donkey. Yeah, and like we see, despite Kerry's efforts to provide the antidote for these people and save them, time heals itself in a fixed point, really, and these people die anyway. Yeah. So it didn't make a difference. The Doctor's aware that Keris took the antidote to give it to him, but the one thing we do find is the little girl who's been in here from the start of the story really is still doing fine. Obviously, with every virus, you got those who have a natural immunity to it, but as we go on, we start to see that this is a bit more than just your normal natural immunity, because she kind of becomes intertwined with the planet and the life on it, and if anything happens to her, everything on the planet feels it as well, which again it gets quite good and quite dark. It's a fun bit. Yeah, it's a fun sort of concept. I like the idea. It's just that we've had a sentient planet now a couple of times now in the this was actually planned for the Divergent universe as well, and it's we've got Twilight Kingdom, we've got the last, and then this all in relatively quick succession, where it's I know what it is. The planet is alive, and you're like, again, really. It's not a bad idea. It's just when you've had it overdone. I think if this had come a bit later or something, it wouldn't be too bad. But yeah, there's some good moments for the characters. It's got a cool story. It's just not got the run. I mean, this is shorter than most Big Finish anyway. I think this would fit this sort of newer Big Finish where it's an hour for a story rather than an hour and a half, 2 hours, over 2 hours. This just does its own thing, and it's really not as bad as people make it out to be. It's not great. It's a bit over the top, some hammy acting in some places, not from our regulars, but overall, it's not awful. No, it's just not one I'd rush to. No, it's not one I'd massively be keen to go back to in a rewatch, or re-listen. But if everything kind of ties in, I would then, just to see the plot points going throughout the series. But then I found with the next story, Other Lives, it was... I'm still not 100% sure what to make of it. I feel that because, I've listened to this one a good few times now. It's not one that I would rush out to. I'll listen to it if I'm doing a full re-listen, but if I'm just cherry-picking stuff, I won't bother with this. It's a weird one because it's a pure historical. There's no extraterrestrial threat or anything like that. It's just the Doctor, Keres, and Charlie stuck in Victorian England. They all get their own little side plots and things. The TARDIS disappeared at the start. So splitting them up and giving them their own little side quests is fun. India Fisher's French accent is very
questionable.
Yeah, I was going to say poor, but it's better than mine. I can't do one, so it's fair enough, really. And Mike Holloway, who you sci-fi fans may remember from the Tomorrow People, back in the 70s, is here as Mr. Crackles, sorry. And he has a great part of trying to convince Keres that he's very legit. He's like, oh, you're looking for the Doctor and Charlie? Oh, yeah, I've seen them both. Talks about Charlie and refers to Charlie as a him. So obviously Keres is going, well, this guy's just talking bollocks. Like, Mr. Crackles is basically a freak show ringmaster and wants Keres, because Keres is an alien and looks like an alien, and to go and be part of his little circus and everything. And for me, that's the most interesting part of the story. Yeah. But the only thing is what could make for quite a good, interesting character bit for Keres sort of just becomes quite surface level. Like, we don't dive into very deep reasons. It's just Keres going, gosh, I wish I didn't look like a big lizard here in Victorian England, and I wish I could find a Doctor and Charlie. And it's like, we could use this to go a bit deeper into Keres and sort of like understand him as a person, and sort of be, so he could be like, you know, this to me is normal, blah, blah, blah. And learn more about his personality rather than the fact that he's going, gosh, I sure do miss the Doctor and Charlie. I hope they're safe.
Well, we get more character development out of the other person in the freak show, Maxie. We get a bit more in-depth development on him than we actually do the main lot.
Yeah.
In this one, because we learn that he'd struggle on his own. He needs this to keep himself afloat. He needs Mr. Crackles, and Mr. Crackles needs him.
Yeah.
So they got this kind of mutual understanding. You get a lot of sympathy for Maxie in this, but
it's good for Keres as well, I think.
It is good for Keres. He's got to deal with a situation on his own without the Doctor, really, for the first time properly.
And it's the first time, because I think Keres has been so used to like going in and trying to save everyone, and it's like sometimes, even though they're in a bad situation, like he's got to understand that Maxie might not want to be saved and whatever, and he's got to go, but this doesn't make any sense because you're in a horrible situation here. Come with us. And he's like, and do what? Like, what have I got if I were to just leave here? Like, what can I actually do? Yeah. And Keres sort of has to struggle to get his brain around that. That's the most interesting part of this for me, because the other two, for the Doctor and Charlie subplots, it's fun, but it's nothing that couldn't have just been done in a short story or something, because the Doctor gets mistaken by a woman whose husband has gone missing, and she basically is like, oh, there's my husband. The Doctor's like, what are you on about? He has to come home with her, and obviously she knows that it's not her husband, but she's doing it to make sure that they don't get evicted from their house and whatever, and the Doctor has to kind of go along with it, pretending to be this sort of house husband, which was quite fun. It's a bit of capture escape, a lot of it. Charlie gets mistaken for being a prostitute, which is absolutely hysterical. That was comedy gold. And there was like a carry-on gag at the start of the film as well,
which did not help the prostitute gag.
Yeah, they're talking about, they've gone to see the Crystal Palace, and obviously the credits roll, and there's a very funny sort of the Charlie obviously looking at the scanner being like, oh, it's enormous, Doctor, or bigger than I ever thought, and blah blah blah. And the Doctor's like, the Crystal Palace anyway. There's another, the Doctor doppelganger stuff with Georgina is fun, and she's obviously in denial about the fact that it's not real, and she knows, I think deep down, I think she's just trying to pretend it isn't. And then Charlie gets a weird side quest with the Duke of Wellington.
See, I didn't mind that.
Really?
I found it funny at the start when she was like asking him to hold her shoe so she could like massage her foot, and mistaking him and talking about the Duke like he's not there, because naturally you wouldn't expect to bump into him in that sort of thing. And then you're going down the line and you just see her having these not intimate moments, but personal moments with the Duke, and Frizzakilis is there bursting in and complaining that she's getting too familiar with him.
Yeah, he's obviously I think it's played as the idea that this Frizzakili character is quite jealous of Charlie, and obviously has a bit of a thing for the Duke.
Yeah, and I did enjoy this. Like, they have a good chemistry together, I think, and they do work well when she's pretending to be French.
Yeah, I do like the bit as well where he susses that she's from the future.
Yeah.
That was good. And she's sort of, he's like, yeah, I can tell you from the future. She's like, well, I don't know what you're about. And like the idea of, because we never really get that. You know, it always happens in the modern era and stuff where they go, oh, you're aliens and whatever. But in the past, for some reason, no one ever goes, I think you might be from the future or be like an alien or something. That just doesn't happen for whatever reason, I think.
Especially when they're running around in much more modern clothing than everyone else. But like as you said, when he works out she's from the future, he's like, oh, tell me what happens, what's going to happen, will I be remembered? Like stuff you generally want to know as a person if you could get the chance to speak to someone about your future.
I think I'd be too anxious to know. So I just sit there waiting for it.
Yeah, true.
But maybe that's just me. I mean, I'm not the Duke of Wellington, so... That's...
Yeah. But he says, Charlie's then like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. And the Duke's like, well, you haven't told me anything I couldn't work out. Because he mentions about there never being peace, which is a hint to the World War One, which is coming up, because World War Two was just after Charlie's time. And other conflicts and stuff going on. So yeah, it was a nice little bit, and as you said, you don't see anyone from the past figuring out that they are not from that time.
Yeah, it was a nice change, but a lot of the story just sort of plods along. Really, it sort of goes, hey, we've got Charlie with the Duke of Wellington having a sort of buddy cop thing, and then the Doctor having this sort of like spicy little romance thing, and then Kerry's being like chained up in a freak show. And it's like, cool, what are you gonna do? And they go, I don't know. It's like they've gone for the ideas but not really fleshed out the journey as much.
Yeah, because it kind of just goes to everyone's just back together.
Yeah.
At the end, it's just coincidence that Charlie's walking through Hyde Park or wherever it is they're doing they stumble across the poster and then go to the show to find Kerry's and save him, and then the Doctor just bumps back into him in the Crystal Palace. So it's just very much coincidental ending.
Time works. This one is a really cool... I've forgotten how good this one is. I haven't listened to this one since the last time I did a full marathon of these, which would have been about, I don't know, 6-7 years ago maybe. And gee whiz, this is cool. I like this. I can understand. It never really sort of peaks at people's like top ones, which is fair enough. But I just like the world building of this. It's really unsettling. The music's unsettling. The sound design with the ticking clock. Basically, the Dr. Charlie and Kerry's land in this, I don't know, you don't even know if it's a planet or whatever. And then they basically get wrapped into this world where it's like, it's basically like efficiency overdrive. Where it's like, if you are slowing people down, you won't just be like sacked or whatever or punished. You'll just be killed and removed from time. And the language they use around stuff like...
They called that redundancy.
Yeah, redundancy is just murder and whatever. And as someone that was... and they talk about people being cut back and stuff. And I was as someone that has just recently come out, luckily, the other side of a consultation for redundancy. Listening to this, I was like, it's not that different, you know? It's not that different. It doesn't feel that different. Because it does not feel like sometimes you're around like, is my head just on some kind of chopping block here? But the language they use around like people being clock stoppers, like instead of time wasters, that they're clock stoppers, and you know he hasn't had a tick in all of his talk and cutbacks and all of that. And what do they call the axe? When the Doctor's about to have his head chopped off, reducer.
Yeah.
You're like, hand me the reducer. It's like it's just a big axe.
Yeah.
I loved all of that. It's really fun. There's like the characters and stuff. There's interesting stuff with the prince who's trying to sort of like of course I'll work with you, Doctor, and then we can save my people. And obviously he's just a backstabbing little git, isn't he?
Yeah.
I just really like the atmosphere and everything. The Clockwork Men are the people that are these like we don't know what they are. They're just this really ominous concept. We never really, you know, they're described as having one arm longer than the other, like, and they're down to a point at the end like clock hands and. They always move around with these mechanical whirring and clocking, and we don't have any other descriptions of them really. It's really,
and they can move between the tick and tock.
Yeah, stuff like that is really. I really liked all of that. I'd like to see this one done on telly, to be honest. I don't know how the hell you do it. Do you know the weird one about time works, right? And it's all how it's all to do with time and the jingoisms around time as a concept, and also how people use their own time and whatever and productivity and stuff. This was meant to be in the Divergent universe. This story originally.
It couldn't have worked because time was not a thing.
Yeah.
In the Divergent universe, I mean, it was after Scherzo. I was very lucky to see color again. So.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think it's just bizarre. There's really cool bits of narration throughout this from different characters where they're sort of like you can imagine them if it was a show where that yes it's dialogue and yes they're sort of expositing to another character for our benefit, but you can almost see it be like it's so entrenched in what's already happening with the other characters in the story, that it's almost like narration in a way. And I was just like, as people are narrating it, I'm imagining seeing the Doctor, Charlie, and Kara's getting on with whatever they're doing, and they're talking about their blanked-faced gods and stuff, and the Clockwork Men, like, although they start off as this really ambiguous, weird threat, even by the end of it, when we've learned a little bit more about them, but not a lot, are still really weird and ambiguous. I'm gushing about this one because it really took me by surprise, because I've listened to this and I've gone, yeah, that was good, but this is the first time I've gone, ooh, that was something special, that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I really was a fan of this.
Yeah, and me. In typical fashion, the Doctor starts a riot at the end to try and save the day in the clock tower. To just get back into the TARDIS, really, because when they get between the tick and the tock, they couldn't even open the bins. It was like an amber. The Doctor said it's like an amber had just developed around it.
Yeah, they can't influence anything, can they? Yeah, it's good fun. It's like you said. On paper, this would be a very typical sort of, like, if they didn't have such a weird world building, you could do this anywhere and be like, oh, it's, your typical Doctor overthrows a oppressive regime, incites a riot, frees it. But because of the way that this is done and the stylized nature of it, makes it stand out more. And that's why I think I'm enjoying it so much, because of the fact that it stands head and shoulders above other Doctor incites a riot, overthrows a government kind of thing. Like, this could be any Seventh Doctor story if it was just done normally, but because of the weird sort of, I don't know, I can't really put my finger on what it is, but it just works. There's a very cool thing where it's sort of, everyone sort of, you get the vibe that it's almost like a historical story, but everyone's got like phones and stuff. It's very anachronistic and things. And there's like a line we're going, well, why don't you just give them more technology and help them and be more productive? They go, no, they've got to learn for themselves.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I was really a fan of that. I just really like this one. If you haven't listened to this one, give it a good listen. I think it's a bit of a Marmite one. I can see why people might not be too fussed on it. It's a bit, it could almost be accused of being a bit wanky, but it is really, it's something really special. The stylized nature of it just really, I'm a fan.
You and me both. I did really enjoy this one. Especially after Other Lives, it definitely kind of stepped it back up for me.
Yeah, this one's got at least coherence to it.
Yeah, and you can see the structure and where it's going a bit as well, which is nice. And you get that little bit of jumping around, but everything ties in together into the story that it's trying to tell. So you're just seeing two sides of the same coin, really, just a different point of view, which I think works really well, which Other Lives could have really done with something similar. But this is definitely leaps and bounds above that. I wouldn't put it as high as Terra Firma, though. Terra Firma is stand out in this little block of 4 for me.
Yeah, I think we'll probably have to do some kind of ranking at some point, or maybe pick out a couple of, out of the 4 we've done today. Yeah, Terra Firma is the best, then this one. But this is obviously, we're doing, it's a run of 8 that we've just split into 2 to make 2 videos out of, because we can. Overall, though, it's very much back to the normal universe Doctor Who. It's although it's weird, because we've gone back into the normal universe and have something, I think it's very clever to go in there, like you said, and open it with a Dalek story, something that's very familiar, something that reminds going, we're back in the normal universe now, we've got Daleks, we've got Davros, but even then they still do something different with it.
Yeah.
And then you've got Weird Planet, where they've done something different with there, and then Other Lives is like, oh, it's just your standard historical runaround. And then Time Works, which is another standard Doctor Who story in terms of the themes of it, but the way it's stylized, it just makes it stand out a lot.
Yeah, and I think you see a lot of Dalek stories where he's just like, oh, they've done this idea already. It's Daleks just take over everything, or Daleks invading Earth again.
Yeah.
And this way, it is a Dalek invasion of Earth. But as you said, it's done in such a way.
Cry, it's not real.
I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you. I was trying so good not to. It's done in such a way that you really enjoy it. It's not just your stereotypical story. You can see where it's going, but you can't at the same time, because it just throws you off just a little bit when you think you can see it's getting towards the end. It was go, no, we got this. Like, Keras kills people in it. It's like, okay, you just think he's going to have a good little stroll and then he's going to end up in trouble, but no, he is the trouble.
Yeah.
And yeah, it does a lot. I think then on to Time Works, you just couldn't put that on TV, because I don't know how you would. It's such a good idea, but I do think it is one only audio could pull off.
Yeah, I think if you could do it, but I think it loses that sort of ambiguous, weird atmosphere that the audio has by not seeing it. Because if you did this, you'd have to just show the Clockwork Men, unless you had someone who was really on the ball with direction and stuff and just didn't actually show them more stuff. You know, you'd have to hint to them maybe, but not hearing them, only being able to hear them and hearing the ticking and everything, and that first cliffhanger where it sort of Keres hears the ticking and they're coming to, that's brilliant. Yeah. Fan of this. Fan of all of these, really. Just two more than other. But yeah, let us know what you think if you've heard them in the comments.
Yes, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We do appreciate it. And if you want a little bit more, come and become a channel member. All our prices are listed on there, so please go and have a look at that. It is worth your while. Yeah.
Cross my palm with silver.
Yes. You get little extra bits like extended cuts. You get everything. You get members only special every month. You also, if you are the top tier member, you get to commission a video within reason, because none of us want to get arrested or spend a stupid amount of money we can't afford to for now. So hit up that memberships, hit up the channel as well, and please share us around to everyone, because we do appreciate it.
Yeah, put us in your WhatsApp groups and go, hey, you like Doctor Who?
Listen to this.
Check out these guys. They know what they're talking about most of the time.
Yeah.
And like Tom said, memberships, you can commission a video. That is exactly what's happening next week. We've had a video commissioned through. We're gonna figure out how to do it. Not next fortnight. Still not used to that. And we'll be back pitting our wits against each other, but not in the way you might think. So there's a little tease.
Yes. Anyways, see you soon.
I need a cup of tea.
Happy New Year. Yeah, so do I.
Cup of tea time.
Shalom.